The Procurement Act 2023 and the framework of public procurement legislation prevents us from picking and choosing the suppliers we want to award to, and also limits the grounds on which suppliers can be excluded. Procurement activity has to happen within the bounds of that legislation. There is an extensive process that surrounds procurements made by the Met Police Service to ensure we comply with legislation and have appropriate input and oversight over investments above the value of £500,000. This is vital given the powers, information and funding we entrust to the Met on our behalf. Londoners expect that their police service is working hard to improve its service, to innovate and to keep pace with criminal threats. They expect the Met is careful in spending public money, making sure they get the maximum value and impact. Value for money is vital. The governance is designed to ensure that procurement processes consider factors like these as appropriate, so that Londoners can feel reassured that their interests are being independently upheld. It's also important so that companies who wish to provide goods and services to the Met can have confidence in the robustness and integrity of our processes. The Met has been in talks with Palantir UK in relation to a contract to improve criminal investigations and support the reforms to improve culture and standards. They've recently asked the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime to formally approve that procurement. In the course of considering this request, a number of serious concerns have been identified. The Met did not present their procurement strategy to the Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime for approval, as required under MOPAC's scheme of delegation. Instead, the Met Police Service procurement process proceeded to the point of requesting MOPAC approval for contract award. The Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime has therefore made the decision not to approve the Met proceeding with the contract award to Palantir UK. This is in line with our policies and processes. The safety of Londoners will always be my first priority as Mayor. I have backed our police, including with record funding from City Hall, to protect the front line, reform the police and improve services for the public. Technology offers opportunity to supercharge these improvements and release vital savings to protect the front line. I welcome the Met's ambition in this regard.
Great. Thank you for your warm welcome to London Assembly, and I look forward to working constructively and collaboratively. In that spirit, I want to thank yourself and the Deputy Mayor for the step that you've taken on Palantir. Lots of Londoners have raised the concerns with me about the ethics of Palantir, whether that's their manifesto that talked about certain cultures being regressive or their complicity with human rights concerns. So I really, really welcome this step. What I want to ask you, though, is whether or not you see yourself having a greater leadership role when it comes to Palantir, whether that's rejecting future contracts or encouraging other public sector bodies to not work with Palantir. Palantir have been marching out contracts across the NHS in London, which many patients and residents have raised concerns with, and Shabana Mahmood has embraced the use of tech like this. Do you think you have a role to reject future contracts with Palantir and encourage others to do the same?
Well, can I thank the Mayor for raising his supplementary question? One of the things I've got to do as the Mayor responsible for a lot of taxpayers' money is to act within the law. Because if I act ultra-virus outside the law and a private contractor brings a case, not only are we having to pay compensation to the relevant private contractor, he's mentioned one, but also a huge amount of legal fees as well. And the tramlines, the guardrails under which I operate is going to be the law. Of course, he'll be well aware of my views in relation to certain individuals and certain people that run companies or found companies. But the bodies that I'm responsible for have got to act within the law, and it's really important to get the process right. Now, I know from past experience, when it's come to one of the bodies that I'm chair of, awarding a contract or not awarding a contract, there's often a court case. So I'm deliberately very careful in what I say today in case that gives the impression that our grounds aren't within the lawful grounds that are allowed under the Procurement Act 2023.
Just one more question from me. In my questioning the Deputy Commissioner yesterday, it seemed very clear that Palantir had offered a discount. Now, that meant that the contract came just under the 500 threshold that would have involved your initial involvement. I wonder whether that threshold needs to be reviewed and whether or not the true value of a contract should be declared rather than the discounted account, because it does look like there is potential for evading scrutiny, and Palantir have a long track record of offering contracts for free or discounted rates to evade purposes, and it's something that the National Audit Office have highlighted as a concern when it came to their involvement in the contract for Homes for Ukraine.
But can I talk in general terms for obvious reasons that I hopefully understands? So I think there are two issues that he raises that are really important. One is the threshold before a decision comes to a politician for sign-off. And I think generally speaking, when there's a public body that's got a £4 billion expenditure per year, 500,000 is, before it comes to us, is probably the right limit, but I can go away and just check that is the case. The second issue is the general one, which is a really important one that I feel quite passionately about. I think if we're not careful, in general terms, what you're allowing is these private companies to almost have like a loss leader. And so they give you a good deal or something for nothing for a short period of time. You can become reliant upon it, or you've got rid of the staff that did that job before, or staff that could be trained up. And then when it comes to procurement, A, there's only one company that can win the contract, but B, you've completely hollowed out the expertise to do that work in-house. And so those are my general concerns. I can't comment on the individual case for obvious reasons and stuff, but he's right to raise that, because when money is tight, it's a temptation. And let's be frank, and nothing against profit, there's got to be a reason why private companies bid for these contracts, and not for the love, although I'm sure some of them do love public service. And so I believe if we can do it, well, fine. If we can't do it well and we've got to procure, let's make it a level playing field.